Hey guys, we're starting something new again today. We can't meet in person for Youth on a Sunday during lockdown. So what we're going to be doing is a short version of the teaching every week. If you feel like the big sermon in the main service is a bit much for you, we're going to be putting out little snippets each week so that we can engage with the teaching and hopefully still be getting to know Jesus and learning from him and his word through this period. So let's tune in. Do you guys know that moment when you come out of an exam and everyone's chatting in the corridor about what happened in the exam? Have you ever had a moment where somebody's told you an answer that they've put and you have that moment of realization that their answer is so obviously right and it's also so not the answer that you put? And you're standing there going, oh man, that was so obvious, but it's too late. I'm already out of the exam. It's a terrible feeling to realize something that's so obvious too late. And this is something that Jesus talks about in our reading today. We're looking at Luke chapter 17. And Jesus is talking about the kingdom of God. The Pharisees, they're the religious leaders, they come to Jesus and they ask him, hey Jesus, when is the kingdom of God coming? These guys are expecting like a military revolution. They're expecting a Messiah to come and to overthrow the Romans and for God to be in charge of the world through his people. And in some ways, they're right, because they understand that when the kingdom of God comes, it's going to be obvious and unmissable. But Jesus knows that they've kind of missed the point a little bit. Because yeah, God will be in charge of the whole world one day, but he says to them, actually, the kingdom of God is already in your midst. Jesus was there, standing right in front of their eyes. And they hadn't understood that he was already part of the kingdom of God. Jesus wants us to understand that actually we're in this kind of now and not yet part of God's kingdom. In that there are bits of our world that are part of God's kingdom and it's not yet come in all its fullness. For everyone who says to God, you can be my king, I will follow you and make my life about you and I will live my life your way. That person is part of the kingdom of God because they've allowed him to be king. Does that make sense? A kingdom is something that a king rules over. So if God rules over my life as king, then I am part of his kingdom. But our whole world is not. Parts of it are, but not all of it. And so Jesus then turns to the disciples and he says, when the kingdom of God does come in all its fullness, which one day it will be so sudden and so unmissable. He talks about lightning that flashes in the sky. Like, you can't miss it when lightning flashes. And Jesus says the kingdom of God will be like that. You won't be able to miss it. It will be really obvious. Like that moment when you walk out of the exam hall and your friend tells you the answer and suddenly you go, oh, of course. It's going to be obvious and unmissable, but it's also going to be sudden. And I think the thing that Jesus is really worried about here is that he doesn't want anyone to miss it. He doesn't want us to have that moment of it being too late, like walking out an exam hall and having already written the wrong answer. When the kingdom of God comes, yeah, it will be unmissable. But at that point, we'll all already have made up our minds. Jesus talks about Noah when he built the ark. But the thing is, nobody realised that the flood was coming until it was too late. The door to the ark was already shut and they didn't have a chance to get on it. Jesus doesn't want us to miss the boat when the kingdom of God comes. And so we need to make a decision now about whether we want to be part of his kingdom. We need to make a decision now about whether to let God be king of our hearts and our lives. Because at the point when it becomes so unmistakable and unmissable, it will be too late to make that decision. So we need to make that decision for ourselves, but we also need to make sure that the people around us have the chance to make that decision too. If it's a decision you've already made and your life is already part of the kingdom of God, brilliant, congratulations, I'm so happy for you. But please make sure that the people that you know and the people around you get the same chance to make that decision too for themselves. Let's not let anybody miss the boat. But let's look forward to that day when the kingdom of God comes. because then the world will be under his rule and his kingship. And the Bible promises that the world will be as it should be, and there will be no more suffering. There will be no more crying or pain. And we will live on this planet forever in God's kingdom with him in his love. It's going to be amazing. And I invite you to join in.